Hello, Vincent. Welcome to Game Hype. We are really happy to have you here with us today. I think everybody knows about Tap Nation and how great Tap Nation is as a publisher. Recently, I've seen that it has surpassed more than 500 million downloads. And I think this is such a great success. So congratulations to you and to your team. So this is why we have you here today. And we would really like to hear your story, what you do, and how it works in Tap Nation. So you can tell us a little bit more about what you do, about yourself, and then we are really eager to hear more about Tap Nation.
Hi, Mana. It's a great pleasure to be with you here today and pleasure to participate at this conference. I think it's the first conference for us to participate in Iran. So It's a really first premiere. We're really excited and thrilled to be sharing here our experience with you guys. So I'm very happy to tell you a little bit about myself and a little bit about Tap Nation first, and then we can deep dive into our case of today. So I'm Vincent.
I'm sorry, before you begin, I want to mention that we received many good feedbacks from our participants, and they were really eager to hear your story, and they were really happy to have Tap Nation as one of the speakers in our conference.
Perfect. That's very nice to hear. Thanks so much. And we take this as a really warm compliment. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So starting a little bit about myself.
Of course.
I'm Vincent. I'm the VP of monetization here at Tap Nation. It's been a little bit more than 1 year that I work with Tap Nation, but I've previously 10 years of experience in mobile and game advertising. Previously, I was working in London for Mopub, a Twitter company where I was handling the mediation for all main French casual and hyper casual clients, as well as working with other clients across Europe. It's been a bit more than 1 year that I joined the Tap Nation team. So we're working very closely here at Tap Nation between all departments, monetization, user acquisition, publishing, product side, as well as marketing and data. Since on mobile games, data is also a core part of our analytics. So Tap Nation is a Paris-based mobile hyper-casual publisher. We were created in 2019. We are a team of a little bit more than 40 people now. And as you mentioned, we are publishing developers, games from across the world, Europe, Asia, but also North America. And we just reached this year 500 million downloads, which is a big achievement and milestone for us. Some of our biggest hits are Giant Rush, Ice Cream, or most recently Monster Squad Rush, which is a game that has been launched 2 weeks ago and is top 1 of the Android store and top 5 on iOS. So we're very excited about this new launch as well, which is a runner game. So Tap Nation has been now in activity since 2019. We've been growing the team across Europe. We're very also remote and flexible company, family mindset and pirate mindset, as I can say, as a startup. So we're full employees in France, in East Europe, as well as in Turkey. So that's why we are also very cosmopolitan, and I think it's great to have international teams to exchange each other's idea and each other's competencies.
Thank you. That was a great introduction. And have you ever worked with an Iranian studio?
We have not directly worked with Iranian studio, but we'll be very open to get to know more Iranian studios as well and see how the developers are doing there and potentially have a game to test. We're working with many studios across the world, and any games, I know every country has their talent. We've seen big opportunities across East Europe, in Turkey, in France as well. And I'm sure Iranian developers also have very talented, so it will be very interesting for us to see if there is any opportunity to publish and for us to help them reach top 1 of the App Store as we do with our other studio.
Great. So I think in this event, you will be able to find many talents.
That's great to hear.
Okay, perfect. So today you're going to talk about Tipito, right? It's one of your games.
Mm-hmm. Tipito has been launched last year in 2021. And the idea is to let you know a little bit more about the history of this game and how sometimes hyper casual is not only a vision for the short term, but also for the long term, and how we are iterating on games, how we're working with our studios to improve games all the time. So the story behind it is how we reached the top of the App Store 2 months after the launch of Tipito.
Okay.
So let me jump into it. So first of all, I want to highlight the genesis, how the idea of Tipito came out. I think it's important to understand that at Tap Nation, we are not only a publisher who will be here to market the marketing and the monetization of your game, but we also have a great internal publishing and game design team that is also sharing a lot of ideas to our studios. So the majority, a big portion of the game idea that we have, it's often an idea that we are pitching to the studio and that they are working on us for some ideas. Of course, there are sometimes ideas that are coming from studio. And here I want to talk about the history and the inspiration of this game. So first of all, to partners on this idea, we worked with a studio that is based out of Turkey, and they're called Cracker Game Studio. They are a very talented studio. Also it's been very interesting to work with them as we've been exchanging a lot of things. And it was part of the early partnerships we had with this studio. So the idea here was really to get some inspiration. And part of this inspiration was the title that was published, if I'm not wrong, by Rolik, who's now part of Zynga, the original studio that worked on this project. Was called X-Ray Game, and the game was called Wheel Smash. So as you can see some of the screenshot here, the goal was to roll a big tire wheel over some product and make them scratch, make them pour some paint, etc. So we found that there is really a good idea and a good feeling for the user here to be stepping or rolling over some product and crashing them. You know, it's a little bit anti-stress. So we all need that some days in those periods. So the project was pitched following a market analysis that we did of different games that were working well at that moment. And so we pitched that to the studio. They were very quick to understand the concept. So the first production cycles took about 10 days. So about a week and a half, which is, I would say, the average nowadays that we have on hyper casual. Generally, between 1 to 2 weeks, you have the first good prototype of your hyper casual product game, and the test proved successful pretty quickly. On Facebook, we were at 40 cents, which is, I would say, like the target, the kind of the average we would like to reach. And on TikTok, we were about 20 cents. So we felt that we often do the test on those two networks, so we can feel the social trend and we can find some target users story. So that was a little bit of the first insight and idea that we got. And now I'll come into the challenge of how we came to this new concept for Tipito. So instead of rolling, we felt that having a character that would step on product apologize, would be an interesting way, an alternative, and as well to bring a human character into the game to which probably the user can identify to. So the idea was to find here the mechanism of the play. So the whole goal is about holding and releasing. So as long as you hold, the step is becoming bigger and bigger. And when you release, then the step is putting down. So you can really wait to see on which object you want to walk, on which object you want to step. And as you release, you trying to target the right place where you need to land. Of course, there is good things to step on, and there are bad things that you don't want to step on that can be hurting or damaging your character where you lose the level. So finding the good balance between the satisfying things and the dangers. So here we found that there were two ways to put in focus sorry, the gameplay. First was a big angle camera. We'll see the whole character. And then sometimes we have a moment into the level where we have a more zoomed in camera where we're getting closer to see the exact product, but also we're putting more emphasis of what is wearing the character. For example, she's wearing a skirt, she's wearing sneakers, and as we'll see later in the presentation, the outfit and the accessories that the character is wearing are also being part of the game itself, and how you can progress and customize your character. So here was really to find this bridge of satisfying combination and intuitive of when you're stepping and you advancing and walking towards the our way. So that's a little bit how the concept was coming out, and you can see the first images of the character walking on the pathway and finding the different ways. So camera angle is often something very important, because this is where like your vision of the game and the screenshot, the first vision of the game will appear to the user when they arrive on the App Store. Yes. So then, excuse me, as we discussed, we have to find the things that become the most interesting and the most engaging for the user. So we had to start the A/B test. The game was released at launch. It was not the huge success. It was a great success. We reached the top 70 ranking US game ranking in the US, which is not bad. As long as you enter the top 100, you're still getting some good visibility and some good organics. It's not top 5, it's not top 10. So there was, of course, a lot of margin of improvement. What was interesting is that the D1 retention was above 40%. And for hyper casual, I would say that above 40% is a good retention nowadays, as we can see. That means that more than 40% of your users will come back on the second day, etc. And that gives us a good retention and coming back behavior to be able to monetize more on the long term. So then we started working with Crack Your Game, really on iterating the game, finding new ways to improve those KPI. So here we found out that stepping on food, stepping on product like cans, stepping on insects as well, where you feel this, we all like to run after this cockroach that is in the house and jump on it. So it was really about finding the same feeling to crush those insects that sometimes we don't always love, even though they are important in this world. And castle sand as well, where like something interesting, we all go to the beach, we see a beautiful castle sand, someone made it, but they're not here anymore. And one exciting thing is really to jump on it, both foot, and I don't know, humans sometimes have this kind of weird behavior, but that was all satisfying things that we started A/B testing, and it had a direct impact really on the retention and on the playtime of the game really quickly. So that was an exciting first result that we observed. And secondly, the good impact as well is that we helped to decrease the CPI, the cost per install of the game, because on the creatives, we were able to reuse those insects, those castle sand, those food elements, and the users were really getting excited to step on those food elements. So that was an interesting thing that after A/B test. So internally at Tap Nation, we have our own platform for A/B testing. That means that we segment the users and we'll test different versions of the game on the app stores, where we create cohort of users. So some user will be exposed to one version of the game, and we create this way different variation of the game, and we can measure. We generally run the test for a week or so, and we then can measure the impact on retention, the impact on LTV, on the number of ads seen, etc., etc. So this studio platform studio dashboard that we have, and that help us create those segmentation of user by remote config, allows us to A/B test those different features quite easily and be able to measure precisely how it's going to impact the game retention. So here, both of that together make us really happy to be able to see an increase in decrease in CPI, but also an increase in playtime. Yes. So then we started brainstorming on how we could make the game even more appealing. And of course, as we are hyper casual publishers, I think it's the category of games that is the most played in the world by any category of age, but also by any country and any demographic. Those are really wide audience type of game. So all age and old people from around the world like to play this game. And so that's when came in the idea of a further localization. Localization of your game is always important by language. When the game gets to get a little bit of a description in the game or text, It's very important that you have it in Japanese, in English, and Spanish, wherever you need to localize it. But as well, we found it will be exciting to create some word and some famous cities graphic for the game. So that's what gave us the idea to change the background and make the people feel that they recognize their city or they recognize their country and feel more engaged with the game. So we've created Russian background, Turkish background, Egypt with the famous Sphinx and the pyramids. London as well was there with Big Ben. So, so people can also travel within the game and rediscover the city that they have been or where they would like to visit. So that was kind of an appealing things to work on and interesting as well. So that's why I created a little word tool, and that had a direct impact on the game, and especially in some countries. So I see in Egypt, the game went top 3 of the game category, went top 15 in the UK, and Turkey, the game ranked as well to top 10. Russia was good performance as well, reaching the top 20. So that's definitely one of those things that you can think of to try to customize your game and a little bit make your games loved by some people by drawing attention to their country and their city. So they're happy to be to recognize that from international publishers, but see that we always bring that little attention as well to the localization and the local people, because it's all about our users first. And I think even myself, like seeing the Eiffel Tower in Paris makes me feel a little bit more localized into the game. So that was part of the interesting iteration that we made after the months of release. So the next one, that's just a few images to illustrate this world tour that we've been doing. Dubai, of course, is also a very trendy destination nowadays for some young people, influencer. Paris is a city of love, very famous, and New York was also kind of an image where we could feel like people recognize as well in the American lifestyle a little bit. So that's a little bit about the picture and images of this world tour. And I think what's interesting is that the things you will step on will also adapt. So as you can see, Paris, you will step on some bread or baguette or some eclair or chocolat. In Dubai is more castle sand. So it's all about this whole localization that will bring in here the title to see the feel, the look and feel of the specific cities. So after that, about 2 months after the game was out, we broadened our imagination to try to feel and be really bring as much as possible social events. So, hypercasual is very, very dependent on social trends. Anything that is working at the moment can have a huge impact on the CPI, on the conversion rate, on the install rate, and as well, and therefore on the cost, on lowering the cost of your install and keeping the user engaged in your game. We have all seen Squid Games popping up with many Squid Games games on the App Store when the Netflix series went out. So here it's also another element that plays a lot. So there is those pop-up board, the plastic board, where kids love to unstress and feel and popping up the bubble. That was something that we saw over the last year popping around everywhere. So we felt that bringing it to the game will bring this extra feeling and this extra engagement and addiction a little bit of the colors, and that had a very good effect. That's what can definitely help us turn this kind of classic hyper casual game into a more trendy hyper casual game. So those popping world really had a good effect as well on seeing that the users, that this game was looking like them, feeling like them, because those are products that they have at home. So being able to play with those as well on the game itself was very interesting. And on the same way that you have to step on some specific pieces, you can see as well, for example, the banana is the things that you want to avoid, because nobody wants to walk on the banana. We know it always end up, and it doesn't end good. So those are the things that you need to be cautious as well. So social trend is something not to forget. So it's important at Tap Nation. We have a market analysis market trend analysis team. So they always look for TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and all social media network to understand what is buzzing at the moment. What are the people talking about? What are they sharing video about? What is also the good music that is trending at the moment? So on our creatives, on our user acquisition campaign and creative, we can integrate those video, or we can integrate those trending social elements always being careful of the copyright. You know, you don't want to copy a special brand, but sometimes you can include similar or looking like a trend to your creatives. And therefore that helps to bring this boost or this missing part that you want to see for your games to become and entering the top 20 of the stores. Yes. So then we worked on optimizing the monetization and retention, of course. Excuse me. So at the launch of the game, we had a low number of rewarded video per users, partly because there was no bonus level and there was a little bit of an unbalanced game economy. You know, generally on hyper casual, we have the standard ad format, we have interstitial, that is a kind of a forced ad format that is coming every 2 or 3 level on your game. The interstitial appears, takes the full screen. Then we have the banner ad format that is appearing at the bottom of the screen that is always here, but of course, much less seen, it's taking less space. And then there is the rewarded video, which we think is the most interesting format because it's the users himself who decide to watch the video. So it's not a pushed format, but it's a pull format. They decide to earn some coins, to earn some skins, anything to the game. They opt in to watch that video. So therefore, since it's a video as well and it's a full completion, the CPM is always higher. So it's always interesting for us to have those kind of formats. So here we worked on the game content. As I mentioned, we started to bring in some clauses, some new design, some new sneakers, having some tattoos as well on the character. So you could really personalize your character and rank up in the category of clothes and shoes that you can unlock after each level, as well as having a specific destination where you could have your level. So we mentioned the different countries in the world. So all of this create more content that is rather quickly or not being unlocked through the game. But if the user wants to progress faster and unlock more content, then they have the choice to watch the rewarded video. So by working on that, after 2 months of iteration, A/B testing with the platform, working with the studio back and forth, also getting the ID, but sharing our IDs, we find that we could customize further the character. We could find many city destination, and we could place some, as mentioned, tattoo or cosmetics along the place that will help to put makeup, and that increased a lot our level of rewarded video. The number of rewarded videos seen per user, I think, went from 1 to about 2.5 rewarded videos seen per users. So that helped increase, excuse me, the number of ads and increase the ARPDAU, the average revenue per daily active users, directly. So if we increase those formats, then it's having a direct impact on the CPI. We're able to bid higher and to gain more users. And therefore, as we gain more users, the game is slowly ramping up into the top of the app stores. So here's an example of the new feature I was discussing. So having different type of clothes, also a VIP section where user can unlock more clothes by either watching rewarded video or buying a little in-game currency to unlock those. The more you run, the more you gain coin, and the more you can unlock new clothes with those coins. And we had the same mechanism for the city. So you can buy as you walk through the hallway, you gain different plane tickets, and some plane ticket allows you to travel to different cities. And otherwise, you can watch rewarded video to unlock those cities. So that overall, increasing this value help us to increase the lifetime value of the user by 80%. So 80% has been quite a huge increase for us, and it's been definitely successful to increase as well the retention as well as the CPI and being able to spend more. Those were a little example. So as a successful outcome, we can say that today Tipito has been really positive for us. We have reached the lowest CPI that we had back in the days. As I mentioned, we started at 40 cent CPI. Nowadays, in the recent days, we were about to trend at about 20 cent CPI. So it's a very good performance for a hyper casual game. We also reached top 15 in the US, which is a very good category for this big market. In the 3 first months after launch, we gained 15 million users. And today we're still maintaining the game. We also have our internal studio at Tap Nation that is on top of the external developer studio. We're also bringing some optimization into the game, some content improvement. So we're keeping on working on that. But yeah, after 3 months of all those optimization, we gained the highest LTV and the highest retention that we could reach so far. So with the work, effort, and the teamwork of both the studio and our publishing and product team, that's been really excuse me, a positive result. So that's it for the little overview of Tipito and how Tap Nation is working hand in hand with our game developer studio in order for us to help them reach their best, but also a lot of feedback, because it's always a mutual work. It's always a win-win situation where we provide as much visibility and feedback into which country is performing, which creative are performing. So sometimes we need a specific gameplay vision, or even custom gameplay that doesn't really exist into the game, but we can show as an ad to increase the conversion and the install that we got for the game. So the game is still live today. It's still profitable. It's going to be close to 1 year now that this game has been launched. I think that's one of the the key things with Tap Nation is a lot of hyper casual sometimes go up high in the top and then die very soon. Today, even 2 years or 2.5 years after launch, we still have Giant Rush, Ice Cream, or Guess the Answer that are doing dozens of thousands of dollars of ad revenue per week. So we always find a way to improve the gameplay, customize, change the creative, because there's always creative fatigue. And also we have a strong monetization team that is working on implementing new ad formats. We're very innovative as well when it comes to in-game ads or audio ads, which are ad format that help increase the ad revenue per users, and for us to increase the LTV of our users. So Tap Nation is very keen on testing new things when it comes to placement, when it comes to tools that help us automate as well the user acquisition or the monetization. So that's a little bit for the presentation, Anna, but I'm super happy to answer any question that you guys may have.
Thank you so much. It was really inspiring for me. So I think it's not just the idea doesn't just matter, because you mentioned many different details you paid attention to, and I think those details also contribute to the success of a game. So one of the questions that I have is because you have many great titles, many hit titles. So I want to know how you come up with the ideas of these games. So can you a little bit explain about that?
Sure. So I think as you mentioned, as I told earlier, Tap Nation is also working very close between each department. We have game design department, we have motion design, we have a publishing team that is also very product oriented. And every week on Wednesday afternoon, we have 2-3 hours where the whole company gather together, and every team member can propose a new 1 or 2 new game idea that he has seen either on social trend, or that he get inspiration from from other studios or from other games that they may have seen. So everybody brainstorms and test new games idea together and votes afterwards. So the best game idea that is elected is then pushed and improved as a product. So we start doing a basic design, basic motion design, and then we propose the game idea to one of the studio. And very quickly after 1 week, we test the concept if it's working, if the conversion through our user acquisition is promising in terms of the public, the reception from the public about the game. If the CPI is low, then that gives us that it's a good idea that we can perform. So in short, internal groups where everybody share the idea of games. So every week we have new idea, we're refreshing. We're also very aware of the competition. We look a lot at what other hyper casual studios are doing across the world, so we can get also some inspiration. We won't lie, it's very close, very competitive, so a lot of people look after each other. And as well, we have, as I mentioned, this market trend analysis team that is looking about social media trends and trying to understand what could be the next best hit.
Oh, thank you so
Yes.
much. And also, I would like to know about how you monetize your users in order to increase your LTV, how it works, that it doesn't bother them seeing many ads. If you can explain about that, that would be great.
Sure, of course. So I mentioned that we're using the three main ad formats, which are interstitial, rewarded video, and banner. Of course, for hyper casual, generally it's the interstitial that works the most. Some other games that I would call like idle games or casual games, they're succeeding to have more rewarded video than interstitial because they are a longer playtime, longer retention. For hyper casual, however, interstitial is generally what works the most in terms of revenue generator. And then we have been testing different ad frequency, having an interstitial every 1 minute, every 2 minutes, or every 1 or 2 level, or every 3 level, measuring the ad pressure. But we realized that often in hyper casual, having the highest ad pressure is what drives the most revenue. So if you feel that the user will be bothered and quit the game because we put an interstitial every level versus an interstitial every 2 level, maybe it's having a little impact on the retention, but the impact that it has on ARPDAU and on LTV is much bigger. So recommendation is always put the highest pressure of interstitial ad pressure to the users. So every level makes sense. That's a good way to, I would say, monetize as early and as in the best way as possible. Then we're always working to finding new and improved rewarded video placement because we want our user to watch a lot of rewarded video as well. So we A/B test those different placements. And then as a last little bit solution, it's a smaller percentage because as a hyper casual, I would say that 90 to 95% of our revenue come from advertising. But we always have also like those, sorry, excuse me. We always have those IP subscription. So our users can either completely remove ads by paying $1 or $2, or they can unlock some VIP subscription to get access to more exclusive content of the game. So they will get a weekly or a monthly subscription to get access to all their game content. Or sometimes if they're really in a hurry and they want to unlock screens or skins that are more important, then they can buy through that as well. Yes. And then after that, as I mentioned, we are also pushing a lot of innovative in-game ad formats. So in-game implemented inside the game native ad that feels like you're, for example, running or driving on a circuit and you will see a billboard. So those are what we call in-game native ads. And we also have the audio ads. For some games it works, for some games it's not a work, but the audio ads play in the background and they don't interrupt the user that is playing the game. So it's like on the radio, you know, you're having some audio in the background, and those have been proving to help a lot as well to increase the ad revenue we can get from the users. So all in all, I think that all those monetization tricks and monetization strategy help us as well to push our game longer, their lifetime, and stay longer in the App Store.
Thank you so much. It was really great to hear the success story of your games, and I hope in the future we can see more hit titles from Tap Nation and your team. Yes. Thank you so much, and
thank you for welcoming us, guys. We're really happy to be sharing our experience with you, and would love to be in person for the next event.
Of course. Thank you. Have a nice day, and thanks for your participation.
You too. Have a lovely time, guys. Enjoy.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Hi, Philippe. Welcome to Game Hive. I think we can't hear you. You should unmute your voice.
My bad. I think it's okay now. So yeah, thank you for the invitation and hello everyone.
Philippe is the marketing manager at Tap Nation, and we're really glad to have you here today with us for the Q&A session. So I think we have some questions at the moment, and I would like to ask you the questions if you're ready.
No problem. Okay, I will be glad to answer all the questions, like if I can, of course, hopefully.
Thank you so much. I think Vincent mentioned that Tipito reached the top charts in US, like, I don't know, in the top 15 games. And we would like to know about the current situation of Tipito. How was the life cycle of the game? Because, hyper casual games usually have kind of low life cycle. So how did you work on this issue?
Of course. So obviously, Chipito is still not in the top 10, top 15 games because, as you said, like hypercasual game have quite a short life cycle, as everyone knows. But what we still do is we have a live ops team at Tap Nation, so we are handling the games even after the launch on the long term. So hence why, by the way, it was also one of the points of the presentation to show that we can have success even after launch. So basically what we try to do even when the game is not in the charts anymore is we still trying to get money out of it, and it's exactly what's happening with Tipito right now. So of course the game is not as visible as before, but it's still bringing revenue, which is the most important thing for us. So at that point, this is where we have Tipito. We are still trying to update the game from time to time. Obviously we focus more on the newest games. But yeah, still it's important to, because when you have the luck of having a big portfolio, you want to still date your games, because when you gather all the revenue from each of them, you can still, it's still very beneficial for the company. So Tipito is at that point in his life cycle where, yeah, he's not really visible, he's not going to hit the charts anymore, but he's still there. People are still playing the game, so we are really glad about that. So yeah, thank you for playing it, by the way.
Thank you for your explanation. I would just try to translate the main points you mentioned.
Okay.
فیلیپ بچه ها مارکتینگ منیجر تپ نیشن هستش و من حالا سوالای شما رو دارم میپرسم ازش. یکی از سوالاتون در مورد لایف سایکل این بازی بود. خب این بازی خیلی موفق بوده و جزو تاپ چارت های یو اس و به صورت کلی تاپ چارت های جهانی بوده و ما در واقع ازش پرسیدیم که چجوری تونستن که دوره عمر بازیشون رو زیاد بکنن و طولانیش کنن. خب یکی از چیزایی که بهش اشاره کرد این بود که از لایو آپس‌ها و ایونت های درون بازی استفاده کردن، سعی کردن فیچرهای مختلفی رو داشته باشن که بتونن LTV کاربرها رو زیاد بکنن و کاربرها رو داخل بازی نگه دارن. همونطور که اشاره کرد این بازی دیگه مانند قبل جزو مثلا تاپ 15 بازی‌های استورها نیست، ولی همچنان خیلی جایگاه خوبی داره و درآمد خوبی رو تونستن حفظ بکنن از این بازی. Okay, let's go to the next question. Actually, I think after this presentation, many studios are interested in working with Tap Nation, and they would like to have more information of how to work with you. So they would like to know if you have any kind of restrictions working with Iranian studios, what are the terms, conditions, and for example, do you have any requirements for studios to join Tap Nation?
So there is no real restriction regarding the location of our studios. We are working really with a lot of them, like worldwide, around the world, like from very different countries. So this is not a problem. We are very used to that. Even the team of Tap Nation is really used to remote working. So we are really all around the world. So no problem about that. Basically, what you all need to the only thing you need to do is just to send us either a mail just explaining your situation and what you would want to do with us, like how we could collaborate together, or you can just directly submit your game on the website, through the button that we have on the website, and publish directly the link and the short information that we need to decide about if we are going further or not. But to be honest, yeah, we are quite open about the discussion overall, like to get new studios. We are really glad to meet new ones every time. So don't hesitate, we can have first a discussion and see what's going afterwards. So yeah, don't hesitate once again to come to us.
Thank you for supporting us. بچه ها فیلیپ من ازش پرسیدم که آیا محدودیتی دارن در مورد کار کردن با استودیوهای ایرانی و چه شرایط خاصی ممکنه داشته باشن که بخوان یک استودیو رو بپذیرن و گفتش که ما محدودیت خاصی نداریم. با توجه به اینکه ریموت ورکینگ داریم خیلی با این موضوع اوکی هستیم که استودیوها بیان و باهاشون کار بکنن. میتونین ایمیل بزنین بهشون یا از طریق سایتشون بازیتون رو آپلود بکنین و باهاشون ارتباط بگیرین. I would like to ask you another question. Actually, some of the attendees asked us about what they should do if, for example, they soft launch the game and after soft launch they see a kind of good CPI, but the retention is not high. For example, the retention is low. Should they continue working on the project or should they kill the project? And what are the ways to increase the retention?
I mean, first thing, of course, it always depends on the situation, the exact situation. You can decide if you're just getting the game right away because the retention is not good is good or not. But the most important thing of all is to try. So make a lot of iterations. Of course, if you see on the long term that the game is not going, that the retention isn't increasing, yeah, you might want to kill it at some point. But first, it's very important to have a lot of iterations. We have improved the retention of our games multiple times by just A/B testing a lot. So you have to A/B test, keep A/B testing. It's very important. And the way you can increase the retention is, of course, by adding new content because the player has more to do, so he will stay more. You can have some mechanics like hooks that can bring back the players, like daily rewards, for example, challenges. These kind of things make players return to the game. So you have to try all these different kind of mechanics and implement them in your game and see how the players react. If it's positive, well, that's a good thing, of course. So yeah, you really have to try all kind of different hooks for your game, and hopefully it works. Of course, it's not an exact science, so it's always tough to say like, yeah, if you should keep the game or not, and it's always sad when you do it. So it's not an easy thing to do, but yeah, I would just say what we do is we always try during maybe 1-2 months if we see, because for us the most important thing, as you said, important to mention, is that if you already have a good CPI, it's already a very good thing because it's hard to get a good CPI. So you need to try, you need to at least try, and of course afterwards, yeah, it will depend. As I said, you check the data of your A/B testing, and according to the data you kill the game or you keep on going.
Thank you. من از فیلیپ پرسیدم که اگه نتایج سافت لانچ CPI خوبی رو نشون بده و ریتنشن ها خیلی بالا نباشه، باید چه تصمیمی در مورد وضعیت پروژه گرفته بشه؟ باید پروژه رو کیل کنن یا همچنان میشه روش کار کرد؟ و فیلیپ گفتش که خب این که CPI در واقع پایین هستش خیلی علامت خوبی میتونه باشه و بهتره که در لحظه پروژه رو کیل نکنیم. مثلا میشه 1 ماه تا 2 ماه روی پروژه کار کرد، از ایتریشن های مختلفی استفاده کرد، A/B تستینگ انجام داد و از هوک های متنوعی استفاده کرد، مثلا از مکانیک های متنوعی استفاده کرد، دیلی ریوارد و چالش ها. اینا همه کمک میکنن به اینکه ریتنشن بازی افزایش پیدا کنه. Also, I have one more questions, and it is about, for example, Vincent mentioned the Squid Game and the fact that it was trending, and they would like to know if they can use the characters and arts of the famous movies, and how can they prevent copyright issues.
Yeah, that's actually a very good question. And to be honest, it's a bit hard to answer because even for us, it's sometimes a bit blurry. The reason why we get banned sometimes, like when we are trying things, some of our games get banned sometimes, and we have to understand why, especially when we are trying to do something with a famous license, in this case, Squid Game. But if you look at our portfolio, you can see that we have multiple anime games that directly come from famous license. Like, we are not hiding it. Everybody knows about it. So what you need to do is actually just try and see if you actually get a reaction from the stores. So it can be a bit tricky. Of course, for us, it's easier because we are a big publisher. So we can afford to try these kind of things. I understand that for smaller teams, it can be tough to go and produce a game, and in the end, it just get banned. So, it can be very violent in a sense for the studio. So yeah, but basically what you need to try is just doing your game. If you see that something is not like compliant with Google or Apple or the stores, you just try another version of the game. So once again, it's about A/B testing. So if you see that they are not happy about something, the thing is that they are not going to tell you exactly why. So you have to try something else yourself. So if you think it's the characters, maybe you need to change a bit the design to make it not too obvious. But if we're talking about the concept, it shouldn't be a problem. I think it will be especially on the characters, maybe on the name of your game. It has happened to us that sometimes it's the name of the game itself that that the original license they are not happy with. Like, we know that because Google tell us. But so yeah. Basically, it can be the name, it can be the characters, but the thing is, once again, you don't really know. They are not telling you exactly why, so you have to try different versions of the game once again.
Thank you. من از فیلیپ پرسیدم در مورد کپی رایت کاراکترهای خیلی معروف، مثالی که زدین اسکوید گیم رو ازش پرسیدم و گفتش که این موضوع خیلی موضوع مشخصی نیست و خیلی وقتا شما ممکنه یک بازی رو منتشر کنید و بازی رو در واقع ریموو بکنن و دلیل خیلی مشخصی رو هم ذکر نکنن. گفتش که در نهایت خیلی قانون مشخصی انگار وجود نداره و تنها راهی که میشه فهمید اینه که تست کرد این موضوع رو. توی پورتفولیوشون یه سری بازی‌های انیمه دارن که اینها در واقع خب اینها موضوع کپی رایت در موردشون وجود داره، ولی مشکلی نخوردن موقعی که این بازی‌ها رو منتشر کردن. خیلی وقتا میتونه استفاده از اون اسم در واقع اون داستان یا حالا فیلم معروف باشه و خیلی وقتا ممکنه کاراکترها باشن که میشه اینها رو یه تغییراتی توش اعمال کرد و بشه ازش استفاده کرد. Okay. I think I asked most of the questions, and I think if our attendees have more questions, they can be in contact with you on our Discord channel. So thank you so much for joining this Q&A session with me, and I hope you have a great day and you can tell our hellos to your colleagues, especially Vincent.
I will do. Thank you again for the invitation. It was a pleasure for me to answer the questions. As you said, don't hesitate, everyone, to contact us directly, maybe on LinkedIn or by mail. We are always happy to help. So yeah, don't hesitate to ask questions once again. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.